Hey folks, it's Jerlene and I'm live. All right, so Jerlene, I'm live from Long Beach, California. Mama with a voice, not afraid to use it. Going live for something specific. Got something on my mind. Want to get it off my mind. Well, it'll always be on my mind, but want to get it out of my head. And have been thinking about this, having this sharing some information, sharing some thoughts for a while, and I've actually been putting it off because I haven't been ready. And I'm like, okay, I need to move on. Not, although I'll never move on, yet I need to let go of some stuff. And so if you're joining me, you're either watching this via Facebook or you are watching via YouTube. Please let me know you're here. Please give me a thumbs up. Please make a comment. Just let me know that you're here. I would really appreciate it. So anyway, I'm gonna read this because I actually it's gonna be a kind of a heavy conversation. I'm gonna try to keep it short. I'm gonna try my best. So if there's a lot, I just gotta let go of like a year of stuff that's been in my brain. So I am going to take time to reflect on the last year, following the past year, following the murder of Manuela Mona Rodriguez. And I'm gonna share some lessons, some heartaches. I'm gonna talk about community, accountability, leadership, and humanity. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. Community, accountability, leadership, and humanity. So if you see what it says in the topic in the subject line, that's what I'm going to attempt to do. So anyway, Jerlene, live from Long Beach. It's been a few days, over a year, since the shooting and murder of Mona Rodriguez. So who is Mona Rodriguez? Mona Rodriguez was an 18-year-old young mother, former Long Beach Unified School District student that got into a confrontation with another young person and was shot and killed by a Long Beach Unified School safety officer when attempting to flee the area in which the fight took place. And over the past year, just so many things have happened, or should I say, this incident affected me deeply. And it wasn't just the incident that affected me; it was the response from community or lack of response. It was the things that I learned and the things that I encountered after this incident. So why do I even care? So I'm going to tell a story the best of my ability. And again, this is my perspective. This is my reflection of this past year. So on the day that Mona was shot, I stay up on the different, Facebook streaming posts that come in from there's something called Streaming 562. And I open my phone and it says shooting near Milliken. And actually the way it was written, it said Milliken campus. It wasn't even, and Milliken is a high school, so it wasn't even completely accurate. So right away I get on the phone, I'm driving, I get on the phone, I start calling other parents. There's been an incident near Milliken High School. We need to find out what parents are like. Have people check on their children. Okay. Have people check on the children. We need to find out from the Long Beach Unified School District what's going on. And spent the next hours trying to connect with parents to find out what was going on. And as information comes on, we find out that the shooting was, that it was a school safety officer that had shot a young person. By now, some of the news outlets are picking it up, and we're seeing more buzz on social media as this happens. Following that, I'm involved in Long Beach Unified School District. I'm connected to different parent groups and different organizations. and concerned about any incident of violence that takes place in my community. So following that day, the 27th, I spent a day calling people and even sat in a couple meetings with community members saying, who is connected with this family? Who is connected with this family? Who's talking to this family? Does this family need anything? What has a school district? Has a school district sent out any type of communication, which had been a problem for some of us that live here in Long Beach and have children in the district? We had noticed that there was a lack of communication that often came from the schools to parents. So we're waiting for some information, not getting any. So I tell a group of parents, well, if we can't find out any information, we need to go get it ourselves. And so one parent, actually two parents, one a current Long Beach Unified School District parent and another community member, volunteered to, say hello to my Wookiee, volunteered to go out with me to the hospital in which the family was convening so that we can get information. Oh, but it was more to it than that. It was more to it than that. An activist came out of Los Angeles, who I will not name. You can read some of my other posts about it, came out of Los Angeles and was suddenly on the news, in front of the news, talking about what this family needs and what Long Beach needs. Now, because I was familiar with this activist for some of the work that they had done or not done in Los Angeles, I was very alarmed. So even part of my phone calls, I was like, hey, we got somebody that's in Long Beach that's talking about what Long Beach needs. And hey, this okay with people? Y'all all right with somebody who don't live in Long Beach, who doesn't know about our community, who doesn't know about anything about what goes on in our city, that is telling, the news what Long Beach is all about, needs? I'm like, I'm not down with that. So part of my mission in going to the hospital was to remedy this, right? Was to actually, and I mean it now, and I'm gonna be honest, I was ready for like confrontation to be like, you can't be here, okay? Get away from this family. And also this person, this activist out of Los Angeles, is known to be kind of like goes to families who have experienced some level of trauma and basically jumps in front of the camera, jumps in front of the family, claims that they are the person speaking for the family, and then hands them off to predatory attorneys. I said that. You can record me on that. Oh, wait, I'm recording myself on that. So again, knowing this information, I knew that someone needed to go and be a buffer for this family. So made phone calls most of the day and it said I was going to go out to visit the family, and they were at Memorial Hospital in Long Beach. And that was where Mona was taken after she was shot. Almost time to go to the hospital. I decided I'm not going to do it. I was so discouraged and so frustrated from the phone calls and the apathy that I received from people and the different things that were stated, that there was just like this complete dismissal, like, whatever, why do you even care? And so I was like, fine, I'm not going to go. And one of the parents, she called and she says, are you ready to go? I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not going. Nobody gives a shit. So why should I? I'm not going. And I just felt this really deep, frustration and anger and just ready to give up. And the parent, she didn't give me a pass. She says, I'll see you there in 30 minutes. I was like, I'm not even dressed. I don't even have clothes on. She says, okay, get dressed. I'll see you at the hospital in 30 minutes. And she and I arrived. We got there, we met up. And when we go to meet the Rodriguez family, we instantly discover there is a language barrier. There is a language barrier because myself and the other parent that joined me, we are not Spanish speakers. I can speak Spanish conversationally when I'm not under stress. I wasn't able to do nothing. So what we did, we got on the phone, both she and I, and I'll just say this parent is Kim T, who is a Long Beach Unified School District parent that I work with here in the community. I get my phone out and I call somebody who's a Spanish speaker. She gets her phone out. She calls someone a Spanish speaker, and we begin communicating with the family. And one of the first things that I ask the family is, hey, is this dude out of LA? Do you know him? They're like, we don't know him. He just showed up. So I'm able to get on the phone with their attorney. And I'm sharing all this information because I'm kind of setting the context of what happens next, right? So I get access to the attorney representing the Rodriguez family in this incident. And he says, if you don't mind, can you please stay with the family until I get there. And part of it, we were under the same understanding. We had to keep this activist out of LA away from the family because they were attempting to, he was attempting to bring in these predatory attorneys, which showed up. They showed up, and I'm like looking. I'm like, they're. Why are they trying to get attention to the family? And another parent showed up. Another community member showed up. Tonya Aranda. So I am naming people. I'm naming people intentionally because I'm like I said, I'm going to share more information. Anyway, we ended up supporting this family over a course of several days, meaning supporting them by being present at the hospital. So here it is. It's a family whose daughter, sister, mother, cousin had been shot in the head by a school safety officer. And it was as if like business as usual in our city where people were like it was okay, it was acceptable. And folks were really like seemed as if they were not even concerned about the well-being of this family or the well-being of our community as a whole, because not only was this family affected, there were young people at the site of this incident that saw this incident take place. So just think about the trauma that happens from there. So anyway, that first night when I'm out there, I end up being part of the press conference, and that was at the request of the attorney. He says, "You live in Long Beach. You seem like you're connected to your city. Will you speak on do you mind sharing a message?" Which I did, and there were people out there that had come out that asked their permission first. Do I have your permission to speak on behalf of community? And is it okay for me to say the following things? Which I did. I can share the video at a later time or whatever. And one of the people that showed up, and why did they show up to this press conference? I had gone live. I had gone live out not too far from the hospital. And I talked about what was going on. I talked about how there was about to be a press conference. And a community member, Chris Covington, comes strolling down the street. And I look and I go, "Chris, why are you here?" And he says, you just called out for community. And that was the start of something. And I'll get to that in just a moment. So anyway, I'm naming people intentionally. So myself, Kim T, Chris, Tonya, stood with this family on that second night after this incident. And we continued to stand with that family the next day. And we went through a series of issues that the family was encountering, from not being able to have access to the hospital because they weren't COVID tested, or didn't have, they were not vaccinated. There was a language barrier. There was some interfamily conflict that was going on between the Mona's family and the father of Mona's child's family. There was all this conflict going on. We had this activist that was out there that was trying to be in front of the cameras and wanted to say that he was representing the family, and was bringing these predatory attorneys that was trying to get these family as their client when they had representation. So all this is going, and then at the same time, Mona's inside the hospital on life support. There was an incident where the police show up because they said that there was the chaos going on with the kids that were coming to like say their last, their parting goodbyes in support for the family. And I just want to say, I'm so thankful that I know certain officers on the beat. And okay, sorry y'all, I have a crazy cat that's, I have a cat that is, this is in the way. Okay. Yes, I have become the cat lady, y'all. So where was I? So all this is going on. There's one thing that I observe when, there's one thing that I observe as I'm with the family. I'm noticing my support isn't enough. So other community members come out, several mothers come out and they sit with the family. And basically we were, I would say, on guard for this family, making sure that people did not try to take advantage of them, meaning these predatory attorneys, and that we were able to filter any press that came their way or whatever. Yet the one thing that I noticed was this lack of spiritual support for them. And for anyone who's like part of a faith community, we know that when there's tragedy and death, how important our faith based community is in support. And so I learned that and by the way, I'm sharing this information with the permission of the family. Okay. I just want you all to know I'm sharing this information with the permission of the family. Okay, my little kitten is doing the most. The faith, there was a lack of faith community present. And that was really causing some angst for me, because here I am out there with the family, myself and other parents. Alyssa Gutierrez from the Human Relations Act came out and brought refreshments and food and items for the family. And I'm naming people intentionally. So if you're paying attention, maybe you're counting the number of people who were out and were present during this time. Because that's very important. Okay. So there's a reason I'm naming people. Hopefully you're counting. Faith community. Family of Mona is Catholic. So since there was only a limited amount of people could go into the hospital, that meant that outside the hospital were anywhere from 10 to 15, and at one time probably 20 something people were gathering. There wasn't any type of faith leadership out there comforting this family. And so I began to call around, and I learned something that was really kind of heartbreaking to me. Because I know there's certain people, when you are connected to a certain religion or certain denomination, you kind of have this preference for that. And so right away it was like, okay, they're a Catholic family, so you can only have a priest come out and talk to them. So I was calling like, hey, can we get a priest to come out here and just like bring comfort to this family outside the hospital? And I was told no. And I'm like, well, what do you mean no? And I'm calling people who are Catholic, right? What do you mean no? Oh, well, they don't do that. What do you mean they don't do that? There is 10 to 15 people plus out here mourning the loss of this young lady. They're about to take her off of life support. And you're telling me no one from the faith community can come out. So I was getting really, really discouraged. Like it was becoming this, I couldn't rest because of it. And so the day came, and this is like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days. This was like what, Monday, Friday or something. The time has passed. I get up and I go, wait a minute. I know folks in the faith community, in the interfaith community. So I send a message to a couple individuals that are connected to the interfaith community. And I tell them what this situation is. And I said, I need a contact for the Catholic Church. I need for someone to come out and be with this family. One, because I can't do it. I can only be here if need something, go and go and get it, or just, chat with the children or whatever. But I'm not, this is not me. That's not, I'm not, I don't have the capacity to do that. Right. That was what I was feeling. And so I picked up the phone. I reached out to Milia Majid, the executive director of the Interfaith Council. And with a few, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, a little bit longer, she sends a message back and she says, I happen to know the person that's over the ministries at the hospital. Now, in that time, I had called a Christian pastor, Pastor Kyle Blake, here in Long Beach. And by this time, I'm in tears. And I said, I need help. I'm not enough for this family. And at this time, I was the only person there. It was early in the morning. And Pastor Kyle came out. Now, you may have seen Pastor Kyle. Pastor Kyle has gone live with me several times in different conversations around school and safety and violence and such. But the moment he arrived, he was able to provide a level of support and compassion for that family that I could not, and the other parents that came out could not. He was able to provide that. And he was also able to be an intercessory with them because they were having some challenges with the hospital and having access to stuff. And what happened, I was able to connect him with the person that was in charge of the ministries at the hospital by way of a person that that's a leader within the interfaith community. And next thing you know, a priest comes down the stairs. I mean, a chaplain, a Catholic chaplain, a Christian chaplain, um, multiple people out of the church ministries. They came down and they prayed with the family. They came down and they provided a level of spiritual support that I was not capable of providing for them, that I was unable to find within my Long Beach community. Because for example, the executive director that I reached out to, Milia, although she runs a nonprofit here in Long Beach, the South Coast Interfaith Council, she's not of Long Beach. So I had to call outside basically of Long Beach in order to get someone to connect me with someone here in Long Beach that could support this family. So I'm sharing all this, and I swear I'm going to get to a point, right? I'm going to make a point. Through all of this, there were so many things that came to mind. And so I want to say thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you to Kim that came out. I want to say thank you to Tonya. I want to say thank you to Chris. I want to say thank you to Melia. I want to say thank you to Pastor Kyle. I want to say thank you to Alyssa, for those who came out, and to Lilia and Martha, who came out, and there was another mom that came out. I can't recall her name, to support for this family. Now, if you heard all the names that I listed, that's not very many people. Okay. That's not very many people. And it's also they're not the folks that we often think about when we think about leadership in our city, right? They are leaders in our city without a doubt, but they're not the folks that are always talking about community and coming together and working together. They're not those folks. They do that, but they don't do it with the fanfare that some other folks do. Okay. What was so frustrating to me during this whole process was the lack of community outreach, the lack of community response, and that and there was so much negative, and I'll say negative comments of why people did not come out. People didn't want to get caught up in it was political, right? There wasn't an announcement. It took days before Long Beach Unified made an announcement, and it was as if they had to choose sides. It wasn't about choosing sides. We know that what happened that day was a horrible mistake, but someone's life was gone, was on the line, was about to be unplugged. But people were so concerned about what someone else would think of them politically. And it prevented people from coming out and being in community. It prevented people from just coming out and just being human. So it left me with so many questions. And the questions were like, what does leadership really mean? What does leadership really look like? How do you hold people accountable when they are too caught up in the politics of things to extend compassion to community? There were people that were upset because I stepped forward. I can understand the fool out of Los Angeles. Okay, he was mad because he felt like someone was taking his limelight. But there were people that were upset because I'm a Black woman supporting a Latino family. And then there were Black people that were like, why are you out there supporting that Latino family? Why aren't the Latinos out there supporting? Well, I don't know why they wasn't out there. But it made me question, what does leadership mean? And what does it mean to say that someone's a Black leader or someone's a Latinx leader? What does that mean? Does that mean you can only be a leader if you're leading your own people? Or does the leadership get applied to you because you're the color that you are? See, this is why I've not done this. This is why I've not done this. It was as if people had to pick sides between the side of community and life or the side of the school district or the side of what some politicians said. A young person lost their life. Going back to the something else that came up during this ordeal is that people would ask the question, well, why was she there? Talking about Mona, where she shouldn't have been there. Well, there's a whole bunch of people that shouldn't be where they should be. Okay? What does that have to do with someone's life being taken? There was as if folks were trying to justify why a young person's life had been snuffed out. People who pride themselves on being leaders. Well, she shouldn't have been there. Well, she was an adult and she went to fight a kid. Well, first of all, those two young people arranged. Okay? They arranged to meet up. Both of them, the 14-year-old and the 18-year-old. And here's my take on the 14-year-old and the 18-year-old and the 20-year-old that was driving the car. We were just coming out of the pandemic. Almost 20 years of things being shut down. Our young people, our children, our students basically lost almost 2 years of social development. So, although people saw an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 14-year-old, I think about a 12-year-old, a 16-year-old, and an 18-year-old, all children. We lost time, people. We lost, and even adults have lost the ability to be able to communicate in the last 2 years, right? So our young people did as well, and that's not making an excuse for what they had encountered. But children fight all the time. Young people fight all the time. Adults fight all the time. Nobody deserves a bullet in their head because of it. So it was so interesting that folks were trying, like almost trying to justify, right? Now let's go back to now. Let's see. I'm accountability. Okay, community. Kind of talked about community accountability. There's court cases ongoing right now. It's ongoing. With the Gonzalez is his last name, the man that shot Mona. And you know, like I said, what they say, he'll have his day in court, right? No matter what, Long Beach Unified is responsible. Long Beach Unified hired someone without properly screening them. This is a man who had been removed or released, I won't say removed, released from 2 different police departments. Someone should have caught that when they were going through the hiring process. And something else about this individual, Gonzalez, military veteran, served in a war zone. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yes, he will have his day in court, but Long Beach Unified School District has a shitload of responsibility in the death of Mona. I will never forget that. So going to Long Beach Unified now. So we shift, still moving the conversation. This has been a year. This has been a year of thoughts for me. This has been a year of engaging around this conversation. So as I share with you, 2 people that were very active in moving things forward, and what we call Justice for Mona, right? Justice for Mona, say for LBUSD, was Kim Tabari, and Chris Covington. So the one thing that was quickly observed in all of this is that we got a problem. We have a problem. We've always had a problem. And part of that problem has been the level of safety and security of our young people in the presence of armed officers on the school sites. So immediately there was a Black Lives Matter. During this time, we're out there standing in front of the hospital. They sent a letter to Long Beach Unified and connected with different organizations across the city, like a rally call, and said, hey, we really need to go to Long Beach Unified, and we need to, one, call for the removal of this officer, which they did. They removed the officer, which was the right thing to do. And I believe that they would have done that whether we had been outside of the school district yelling and shouting. Anyway, they would have done that. So there was a rally in front of Long Beach Unified, or an action in front of Long Beach Unified School District, where community organizations and community members and some other organizations from other cities came to stand with the Mona Rodriguez family. And we called this movement the Safer LBUSD. And our first call to order, or call request, was the removal of Gonzalez, the officer that killed Mona. But then it was the launching of a movement called Safer LBUSD, where we are calling for the removal of armed officers from schools, as well as a host of other things. And I'm not going to share all those things with you yet. I've sat at that table, and I'm going to be honest, I reluctantly sat at that table. Okay. But I knew it was I needed to sit at that table to be able to listen and to be a voice for community, and to kind of keep in part of this conversation of having a safer LBUSD for our students. Yet at that table, when I say table, Long Beach Unified School District, administrative staff, community members. We had clergy, we had leaders of some organizations, organizers from various organizations, to have this conversation about the removal of guns from our campus. And Long Beach Unified, they obliged us, and they gave us an audience. And we met consistently for months on this. Yet what's interesting, as someone who was at the table, being questioned on if we are worthy or valid. We were questioned on who we represent. Well, there's only 5 of you here, so you continue to talk about, you're meeting with people. Well, who are they? And it was such a condescending moment. This came from an executive staff member of Long Beach Unified School District. And, and I'm going to say this now as a message to whoever's listening. And this is what I said that day. Long Beach Unified exists because children exist. Children exist because parents exist. Children are customers. Parents are customers of Long Beach Unified School District. Please don't forget it. So that was kind of that was a encounter that happened over this last year. So again, so for me, and I'm talking about me, I experienced a lot of trauma, right? And my trauma was the lack of this questioning, what is leadership, this wondering of accountability, and then being demeaned at a table when trying to talk about the safety and well-being of our children. Again, this is me. I'm releasing stuff right now, which also goes back to accountability. How can we hold our school district accountable when they don't even value us at the table? It doesn't matter if it was only one of us. One of us matters. So, community accountability, leadership, humanity. Since the death of Mona, and the way, and although this murder happened in the realm of the Long Beach Unified School District, it was another incident of violence that happened in our city, right? And since then, there has been multiple incidents of violence in our city. And I swear every time I read about one, my heart hurts because community is silent. Community is silent. Leadership is silent. And I think about the families that are going through some type of loss, and I think about the time I spent with Mona's family, and I wonder if these families are alone. If they're alone, if anyone's advocating for them, is anyone helping them? Is anyone helping them navigate through these systems to make sure their needs are being met? So I go again back to leadership. What does leadership mean? You know, folks like to be in front of the limelight. They like to be at the press conference. But when it comes down to standing with the community, what does it look like? Now I know I can't, and I know those of us who are in the mix of things, we can't be at everything. We can't. But where is our faith community in this? Where are our community organizations? And even though a lot of organizations came out deep for the rally in front of Long Beach Unified School District, we lost a few of them after that. You know, it was no longer headline news. So something that I want to share is that when we talk about community building and community relationship, it's really about being in relationship. It's about being in relationship. I don't think we know how to really be in relationship. We like to take the pictures with the so-and-so and post it on social media. But how many people are we really in relationship with? Now, I've kept up with the Rodriguez to the best of my ability. The best of that they've allowed me to keep connecting with them, because that was my commitment to them. Because, and so even in everything that I'm sharing, like one thing you didn't see pictures going up on my page. You didn't see where I was. That was intentional. And the reason why, one, I wanted to safeguard the privacy of the family. They've given me permission to share, and I am going to be shared because there's stories attached and there's experience that are attached. And I want to talk about some of the beautiful things that happened in this horrible incident of losing Mona. I didn't know Mona, didn't know her family before, but now I know Mona's little brothers, her little brother, her little sister. I know her other brothers. I know who her mama is. Now I do. And I got to hold her baby. And I have to say, holding her baby was a reminder that I did the right thing. And like I said, this is me just kind of letting stuff go, because through this, I've been abused. I get dismissed. I don't understand. I'm not interested in people's limelight. I'm not interested. There was an article that dropped earlier this week from a national publication that talked about the work that myself and Kim Tabari and Chris have, and other with support of community organizations, have been doing with Long Beach Unified. But the work that we stepped into, and I say for some people continued, it was not so that we could be in the newspaper. That's not why we did it. That's not why we do it. For me, it's actually very embarrassing. I haven't even read the article yet. I'm gonna read it when I get off with this, y'all. I'm gonna read it. So going back, I just wanted to it's okay to stand up for another human being. And at no time should standing up for another human being be considered political. Now, we know that there are people that do it for that reason. But for people to not do it because they're afraid that someone's going to think it's political, that's asinine. We really have to hold leadership accountable on all levels. And we really got to do better at being in community, at community. So again, like I know I went through a lot, and this was something that I just like really had to get out of my head. But I want to say thank you again. I want to say thank you to Kim Tabari, Tony Oranga, Pastor Kyle Blake, Melia Majid, Lily Ocampo, the staff at Long Beach Memorial Hospital that did eventually come and step up when we were able to, talk to the right people. And also, I want to say thank you to Black Lives Long Beach, Black Lives Matter Long Beach, and something that happened during this situation. Right when it was happening, we were preparing for the rally outside of Long Beach Unified School District, and we were also preparing to attend some engagements in Los Angeles with the press. And when I say we, I'm talking about those of us who were supporting the family and being with the family. And we were actively sharing information on social media. I was threatened. And some lady made a whole video about me. I don't even know who the hell the lady was. I never met her in my life. But these were people that I was going to encounter when I was out and about. And Black Lives Matter Long Beach made sure that myself and Mona's family had security detail when we were outside of Long Beach Unified School District. They're like, security detail? Yeah. And you wouldn't have known they were there unless you knew they were there. And I want to say thank you to that, because that's was about taking care of community. And thank you, because then it allowed me to be able to be effective in serving community without thinking that I was going to be a target. So I do want to say thank you. I believe it was Don Modkins that made that possible. So thank you for that. And thank you for shielding the family. And anyone who came out and shielded that family and protected that family, and whatever you offered, thank you. But for the rest of y'all, I ain't got nothing. For those of you who talk about leadership and Black leadership and brown leadership and Latino leadership and standing for, y'all are full of shit. Because it does not matter what you think of someone who, what do you think of Mona? Her life was taken from her. And that could have been your child in the wrong place at the wrong time. It could have been your child that made a piss poor decision. It could have been your child that just could have been a bystander and caught of that. It could have been your neighbor's child. It could have been your cousin's child. It doesn't matter. It was a human being. Anyway, I got to bring it to a close. This has been, like I said, a year of holding things in. And I'm sure when I finish with this, I am going to feel like I have forgotten something. But I really needed to let go of this, because I need to move on, because I got other things I got to do. And oftentimes I felt like nothing was that important because I was still holding on to this. And for people who have, and this is about me, I'm not even like, this is about me. This is about me. This is about me and my thoughts and stuff. And you know what? Ain't nothing wrong with me either. You got issues with how I move and stand for my community. That sounds like that's a you problem. Because I'm going to continue to stand for my community. I'm going to continue to be a voice for those who need support. And you may not see me, and I may not be posting pictures, because that's not my MO. That's not my cha-cha. That's not my get down. But I will continue to serve, because I've come to realize that I live to serve. My life is to be a service to others, no matter how much I try to run from it. So again, thank you to everyone who came out, who's been a support this past year. Thank you. Like, just big shout out to Chris and Kim for really, pushing the Long Beach Unified School District and the Safer LBUSD movement. Anyone who's watching this, please, if you're watching this, let me know that you watched it. Give a thumbs up, give a thumbs down, give a, you're a jerk. But do something, like make a comment. Let me know that you've been here. Share your thoughts with me. What do you think? How do you feel? How have you been impacted? Let me know. Because see, it's also about being engaged in conversation. Right now, this is a one-sided conversation. This is just Jerlene talking to everybody. But please let me know that you've been here. Let you stop by. Give me a thumbs up. You don't like it, put in the comments. If you're watching this afterwards, it is October 1st. It is October 1st, 2020, and it's been Jerlene, and I've been reflecting up on this past year following the murder of Mona Rodriguez, talking about my lessons, my heart, community, accountability, leadership, and humanity. Everyone have a good night or good day whenever you're watching this. Good night, good day, good afternoon. Be well.